Welcome to another episode of Fails on the Trails. This is another before and after episode where we're going to talk to one of our hosts before the race, and then we're going to jump on immediately after the race to see how their experience went. So, Lisa, what do you have coming up?
So, starting next week, which will be July 9th, I am running a 500-kilometer race called the Last Annual Vol State. And for those in America, because we use miles, that's 314 miles across Tennessee in July, unsupported, on asphalt, and just yeah, basically that's what it is. It's a journey. It's called a journey race. So I'm just going on a journey, a nice little stroll across an entire state or a few states, actually. I'll be in a few states.
I've done a backroads race before where it was, I thought it would be actual back roads, but cars were going by 65 miles an hour because it was an actual highway and there was a small shoulder. Is that pretty much what you're going to be doing as well?
Yes, we're going to be along highways, roads, some of them through smaller towns, but they always say you get a choice during this. You're either going to be on highway with huge, nice, wide shoulders, plenty of room to just kind of spread out and do your thing and not have to really worry about cars, but you're not going to have any shade. Or you're going to get the roads that have virtually no shoulder. You're having to be hyper vigilant and aware of the cars going through you, but you might have more spots where you can stop in the shade and enjoy it. So you kind of have to pick your poison.
And you did this race last year, correct?
I did. Last year was my first year. I kind of got talked to it from a mutual friend, Shashi, who got me excited about, he's like, I'm going to do a bunch of like 300 plus mile races. And I said, I always wanted to do Vol State. He's like, let's do it. And then a lot of stuff happened with him. He ended up doing the sister race, which is in June, called HOTS or Heart of the South, and couldn't swing more time off for this race. So I almost backed out. I was terrified of the possibility of doing this alone, being too over my head, not knowing what I was doing, not just my strategy is always let's show up and wing it and hope for the best. I usually don't make a plan. I don't organize things on paper or know. I didn't know like what miles things were at. We get a GPX file and a map. Years ago, of course, it was a paper map. Now we can use Google Maps on our phone with all the mile markers. So when you're getting close to town, you can go on your phone and you can just zoom in and see what's around for resources because there aren't aid stations. There aren't, you don't have a crew that is driving with you and handing you supplies. So this race, you supply at gas stations, fast food restaurants. Dollar General seem to be, we kind of joke that they should be a sponsor because I refueled there and napped on the side of probably a good handful of Dollar Generals during the race. And you're on your own. And so, yeah, those the only resources you really have is a map, or you can download the map on your phone too, and it'll yell at you when you get off course because it happens a lot.
And that was the first time you tried that distance?
It is. The furthest I had done leading up to that was last March, actually. I had another friend talk me into doing something. Shocker. There's a race out here called the Texas Independence Relay, and he has run the course solo a few times. It says, I think you can do that. And that one is just under 200 miles. So I had never done anything over 200 miles, and I hopped into a 314-mile race just to see if I could do it.
How long did this take you last year?
So you have 10 days to finish the race, which is 50K every 24 hours. We have to check in every 12 hours. We don't even have a GPS tracker on us, so you can't follow my little dot along the course. It took me, I have the exact thing, I think, 9 days, 2 hours, 29 minutes, and 20 seconds.
Wow. I was going to say you're cutting it close, but you're still, 22 hours away
Yeah,
from
I
cutoff?
still had, yeah, we finished on a Saturday morning and we had until, the next day. And my good friend Terry Wurzbacher was actually the last finisher. She's an amazing 77 years young, journey racer, veteran, doctor, everything. And she finished with about 44 minutes to spare by herself.
So I want to get your thoughts on this year's coming up race, but I know there's going to be a lot of parallels of things that you'll do different from last year's race to this year's race. I'm going to pose 3 questions, and it's all going to be crazies. I want to know the craziest place you slept, craziest thing or place that you ate, and the scariest or craziest moment of the race.
The craziest place and probably the dumbest place that I slept, and I'm going to say we a lot because I did majority of this race with a group of people that we call ourselves the Trauma Bonded Trash Pandas. We were on a huge stretch of highway in the middle of the night and with huge shoulders, and it's guardrails are your best friend during these races to lean against, to go behind and sleep kind of safely. But we just kind of laid down with our in the road, heads near traffic, probably not the smartest thing, with our feet up on the guardrail to just elevate your feet and just rest. And it was the middle of the night. We were trying to do as much moving as you can. That's a good strategy. We never could nail down the swapping your days where you rested during the day and you moved at night when it was cooler. Usually 1 or 2 people would kind of just stay awake, and we all knocked out asleep, dead asleep, with laying on the side of the highway, feet up. But it was middle of the night. Well, Monday morning is coming around. Commuter traffic starts. We start having cars go by, and I keep waking up, and then all of a sudden we all got jolted awake by an earthquake of a semi truck that drove right by us, didn't switch lanes. There were 2 lanes, so they could have switched lanes, jolted us all awake. And this was probably also the funniest part of the whole entire trip too, because we all disoriented, but wide awake, adrenaline going. And my friend John goes, well, Dawn will wake us up. Look around, I go, who the fuck is Dawn? I legit thought there was someone named Dawn behind us that was coming along to wake us up from our nap. And so that became an ongoing joke with the race when somebody said or did something stupid. It was just like, who the fuck is Dawn? Have you seen Dawn? Instead of, the sunrise was going to come and wake us up.
Sunrise. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah. So that was my dumb blonde moment, but it ended up like now Dawn is a living part of this race.
So now food.
Yeah, I can't really think of any crazy food. I mean, while we started calling ourselves trash pandas because you eat like a freaking raccoon, we would stop at gas stations and in the morning and usually get about 2 or 3, I would get like 2 or 3 sausage biscuits or something. Eat one, stuff 2 in my pack. 24 hours later, I was eating it again. Same with, we stopped at a truck stop at 3 in the morning and, crossings, these towns all like just run through my head like crazy. I don't remember them, but we stopped at a truck stop at 3 in the morning. They made us pizza at 3 in the morning. I was like, this is great. So I ate a slice or 2, folded the rest up, put it in a Ziploc bag, threw it in my pack. I had it for breakfast the next morning. So I am very surprised that none of us got sick from some of the stuff we ate. Probably my favorite though was in between heading into this town called Linden, and people set up what they call angel stations. They know about the race. This course has stayed almost the same for many, many years. So they set up angel stations. They're unofficial to help us out. They're not expected. They just do it out of the goodness of their heart. And there was one stop, Pam and Terry, and he had a crock pot of red beans and rice. And I had 3 or 4 bowls of that. And it was the most magical thing. I chatted with him because it was so good. Because I was like, Tennessee, like this is really good for Tennessee. He's like, oh, I'm from Louisiana. Bingo. So now I was strategizing with him. I'm expecting hopefully to have a shrimp boil from him this year.
Nice.
So we'll see.
Then scariest thing that happened.
So going into from what was this night? This was Saturday, I think. So we start Thursday, Friday. So day 3, we were walking along a stretch of highway with nothing forever. But there's a lot of traffic coming towards us, but we have a huge, like 6-foot shoulder. And my friends, John and Jessica, are kind of ahead of us, and I'm back hanging out with Sam. And all of a sudden, this car comes veering about 3 feet into the shoulder and almost hits Sam. And by the time I get done turning around going, what the fuck was that? Like trying to see if I could make any identifiers. Like Sam, he's a lawyer, was already on the phone with the cops. It could have been a distracted driver. It could have been intentional. The more we continued going into these towns towards the Tennessee River, later into Saturday, closer to bar closing time, I guess you say, I think there was a lot of distracted and drunk drivers coming back from the river. And we were now in a section with no shoulder. And I think I had about 3 panic attacks going up this hill and then down to the river because I was like, we're going to get hit by a car. But that was the only time I felt unsafe, I guess you can say, with the traffic. And again, I was with a group, but I felt so uneasy in that section. So I'm hoping this year I am a little faster to hopefully go through that section more in the late afternoon before all of the crazy drunk drivers hit the road.
Wild.
Yeah, it was pretty scary.
So when I ran the relay across Iowa, it was a relay and it was like 300 or 400 miles. And when I finished, I was like, this was a really cool experience, but I'm good. I don't need to do this again. And when you said you were doing Ball State, I was almost, I don't know why I would think this, but I was almost expecting you to have a similar experience. So how long after Ball State did you know you were going to sign up for the next year?
Pretty much immediately. I told myself, I was like, maybe I should, do it every other year because it does take a lot to do this event. It takes a lot of planning, a lot of strategy, a lot of time off. I take 2 full weeks off of work. But also last year, it hasn't come out yet, they filmed a documentary during the race. And I have a suspicion, and no, I'm going to be right, that once the documentary comes out, there's going to be an influx of people registering for this race. And I don't know if the vibe will be the same. Because there's every year, I think there's a few people who have no clue about what they're getting into, haven't done their research. Because this also isn't a race where you register and you have the whole entire race laid out for you with, hand holding, telling you what to expect. Like you have to go in, you have to watch YouTube videos, you have to watch, they have a Facebook page and you have to research and talk to people, listen to podcasts. Terry Wurzbacher also has a podcast called It's All About the People that is just about Ball State. And when they start asking little questions and we respond kind of bluntly, like, I don't think you know what you're getting into. And then they all kind of back out. So I have a suspicion something like that might happen once this documentary comes out. I could be wrong, but I feel like people will watch it and get excited about this and say I can do it, and it might be a whole different vibe. So I was like, I'm going to get into it one more time with the cool kids and see how it goes.
That is what happened with Barkley. Once that documentary came out with Barkley, it definitely blew up and the secret was out. So I'm curious if that'll come true as well. So what do you plan to get out of this year's race? What would you like to do differently than with what you learned from last year?
I'll preface this by saying I had like 0 regrets, or I think the race went exactly how I needed it to be. Last year was all about the experience, getting the full feel of everything, making connections. This year, I think I need to get better at my breakup speech. That, it's hard when you get into a group of people, which again, my fear going in was being alone. So I was grateful that I found these amazing people, but also like I didn't get to experience any of that on my own. So I think this year I really do kind of want to spend some time. I mean, not the whole time. Maybe it might be an overnight by myself. I just need to get better at being like, hey, like I'm feeling really good right now, and I would like to continue going. I know you want to rest, because when you're with a group, you kind of go at the pace of the slowest person, or you take a break when someone needs a break. And we worked so well as a unit. We could start after a few days reading each other, we each took turns having our moment. I think mine was like night 5 when I was just overstimulated from everything that was happening to my body. And I was like, I need a moment. So that's something that I'm going to try to do differently this year, is to, kind of break away from groups when I need it. If I feel like we're vibing and I don't want to leave the group, of course I'm going to stay. But I just need to get better at making that choice for myself.
It's funny how easy a breakup speech is when the person is going too fast and you're like, this is way outside my comfort zone, so I'm going to fall back. But then if someone's going a little bit slower than you, you're like, I can hang back. It'll be fine.
Exactly. And sometimes I'm like, I don't want to just be like, yo, peace, or just have that awkward back and forth thing the whole entire time, which the last couple of days, we leapfrogged a lot with Vincent Atunes, which is the founder of Trail Toes. He's amazing. He just sent a bunch of gear to some of the angel stops of Trail Toes, lube and ice bandanas and stuff. We leapfrogged a lot with this woman named Paige, who's a really good friend. And of course, she's now a trash panda. She's amazing. So it was fun to get to leapfrog with people. But Mike, who is also in our group, sometimes he had a horrible foot issues and chafing issues, and he would fall back to kind of take care of that. And he was better at the, hey, you guys go ahead, like I'll catch up. And we were like, okay, we're not going to see this guy again. And then we would be breaking or laying under a tree somewhere in the shade, and all of a sudden here comes Mike just strolling up the road. So I expect a lot of that to happen, and I think that will be fun.
Slept on the side of the road and the side of Dollar Generals. Do you plan to do like at least one hotel? Or did you do any last year? Or do you plan to do any this year? Because I've heard stories before, people getting a hotel and kind of like hiding the key in a bush. So like people can use the shower and they like just kind of use out that hotel room for all the runners behind it.
Yeah, I wasn't really, when I went in thinking I would be by myself, again, solo, I was kind of thinking like, okay, money wise, I don't really want to be spending, every night or every other night at a hotel. So I had kind of made a plan, and one of the bigger towns called Columbia, which is about mile 170. I'm like, that's a good kind of halfway point to get a hotel. Didn't pan out that way. I think I ended up getting 3 with the
Okay, so you
group.
did get hotels.
Yes. So we got one on the second night just outside of a town called Huntington. I got that with Jessica, Sam, and John. And that was also one where we did kind of maybe tape our key behind a vending machine for some friends behind us, which it's kind of frowned upon. So,
Really?
and then a few nights later, I forgot where we stopped, but there was now 5 of us, and we found a hotel room that had 1 room left. It was 1 king bed. So Jessica and I, we were the only females. We got the bed, and all the guys kind of scattered around the ground. Oh gosh. Our shower, if you want to call it, was basically a jacuzzi tub with like a little wand that looked like it came from like a kitchen sink to shower with. So that was interesting. And I don't think either one of those was really worth the hassle with a group like that. And also I think by the time everybody showered and got settled down, it was maybe an hour of sleep. And I've heard from people that anything less than 90 minutes isn't good sleep. Like you need a good, like solid 2 hours if you want some good sleep. So I didn't get really good sleep, I think, at all. I would get little now. I think the only time I got really good sleep was the night that I had my moment of being overstimulated, not feeling good, needing just sleepwalking because I was so exhausted and so tired, and so just everything was hitting me that we call it the Nut House. Because their last name is Nut, not because we're maybe because we're crazy. It's right after this place called everybody that is Ball State knows. It's called the Bench of Despair. There's a red bench outside of a little convenience store that leaves out markers for us all to sign. And the Nut House is right after that. And they have an outdoor shower, an outdoor toilet. They had a tent that was separated from everything for just sleeping. So everybody was like, Lisa, go shower. We're going to save this cot for you. You're going to sleep. And that was when I finally got some good sleep. But I think that's around mile like 197. So I was almost 200 miles in with like no sleep. So I was very out of it. So my plan this year is to plan for better sleep. Um, I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of places that I can sleep at and get some quality sleep. There are 3 fire stations in the race that open up and let you sleep, shower, sometimes do laundry. That is definitely a very good thing. I'm bringing a sleeping bag liner, just a really thin, small that can fold up like this big. Because last year I brought an emergency space blanket. And if you've never used one of those, that is the loudest piece of fabric, whatever you will ever experience. Because the first night I tried to sleep, somebody had one, and I was like, I hate this guy. Ended up being Mike, who ended up becoming a trash panda. The second night I got cold and tried to use it and was so aware of how loud it was. I could not sleep because I didn't want to breathe even because of how loud it was. And somebody made the comment, those things sound like a dozen squirrels fighting in a plastic bag. And that's exactly what it sounds like. So I was like, I threw that away. And so I was just, but I still wanted something on me to sleep. So I have a sleeping bag liner. That's probably the only different thing I think I'm doing this year, and maybe bringing a second set of clothes. Because I was just in my shorts and a shirt and one sports bra the whole time, and ended up with one pair of socks after about 100 miles. So I might bring a little bit extra clothes.
So last year was 9 days. Do you want to shrink that down this year or want to finish a little quicker?
My initial goal going in is I was thinking 5 or 6 days. A 5-day finish would be 100K a day. A 6-day finish is 50 miles a day, which is more doable. I would be happy around a week at this point. I know a lot of people that finish like in the 7-day, give or take area. And last year, under a week was my goal, was my initial goal. So think I'm going to go back to that and try to do it in under a week. So we'll see. But Laz keeps posting updates on the weather about the heat index. Today in Tennessee was 114. And the day we start the race, the heat index is supposed to be like 108 with thunderstorms. They've never had thunderstorms on day one or at the beginning. They usually come around in the evening. So the weather plays a factor, especially on day one, because you're starting at 7:30 in the morning and you don't want to go a few hours and go ahead and get a hotel to get out of the heat and then start at night, because then you already are falling behind Oprah, who is our rolling sweeper, virtual sweeper. Because if you ever watched Oprah's talk show, she would like run back and forth across the stage in her little high heels. So they tell you, just imagine Oprah is chasing you in her high heels. And so we always want to try to stay ahead of her. So day one, you kind of are almost forced to go all day in the heat. We had a late lunch. We got there right before they closed last year. So this year I would hope to get there for breakfast and kind of do a reset and then make my next move. Because I know you're like, during ultras, everybody has their own different strategy, like maybe a loop at a time or getting from aid station to aid station. Like this race is more like getting maybe town to town and just seeing what's around. But also if you're just moving at night, you're running into getting to a town where nothing's open. And if you need to resupply, if you're running out of water or running out of food. So I think something I'm going to try to change this year is be more mindful of how much extra food I'm carrying with me. Because I would just grab some things at a aid station, at a gas station, and kind of eat it. And then I wouldn't have anything extra on me for longer stretches of road that maybe we would have like an 8-mile stretch, which isn't a lot for for us. But when you're out in the heat of the day and about 140 miles in, 8 miles of nothing is hard. So I'm trying to play with that to figure out and what I should be eating more of, instead of some of the just payday candy bars and beef jerky the whole time.
You know,
How did you go to the bathroom? Like, because normally races have porta potties or, you know.
Girl, you're just we never you know what? I feel like there were enough convenience stores in some of the towns. I mean, if you're stuck on a stretch of highway, you're stuck on a stretch of highway. You know, we had that conversation. Who is it that was talking about the poop bags? You know, you have like I'll have a bag of wipies and stuff if needed, and then I could always buy more. Some of the Angel stations have really outdone themselves. There's one at mile 87, David Scott. He had a full size refrigerator with like freezer full of popsicles. You open up the fridge, it has Twinkies, it had Spam, it had Cokes, it had Gatorade, it had everything. He had a porta potty because he remembered about the year before having a woman ask if she could go behind his house to go pee, and he felt bad, so he got a porta potty, especially for us women who. So there's a couple now that have a porta potty. Guardrails. Hop behind a guardrail, pop a squat. It's you got to do what you got to do. There was one time where there wasn't a lot of cover, and Jessica and I needed to pee, and we all carried, or a couple of us carried, UV umbrellas. It was one piece of advice my good friend Scott told me is get a UV umbrella because it's multifunctional for the sun, rain, dogs, whatever. But you know what? You can open it and squat behind it and you're good. You're covered. So basically, yeah, you do what you got to do to get it done, to do the do.
love the things I learn on this podcast. This is amazing. Like
Learn so
UV
much, right?
umbrella for going to the bathroom and boob ice and all the things.
Poop ice, poop bags, using an umbrella. Umbrellas are multifunctional, I'm telling you. I used one that we found on the side of the road that fell out of somebody's pack. Oops. My pack ended up, I had a horrible heat rash on my back, and my pack was just it was again my overstimulated, everything touching me. I couldn't. I used the umbrella over my shoulder with my pack hanging off the back of it like an actual hobo because I was really homeless this whole time, and it was great.
Huh.
Something
Interesting.
I just wrote down. A lot of ultra runners have coaches coming into races. I feel for Vol State, you should just have a homeless person as your coach and say, hey, if you were going to travel for 7 days, what are some things that you would do? And they'd probably have all the secrets because when you were talking, you're almost really living like a homeless person. I know you got a credit card and you can get a hotel and stuff, but just like from town to town, convenience store to convenience store, probably bathroom shower to bathroom shower, just living it up.
And I unfortunately did not get offered this, but a lot of the Vol Staters have been offered money from people thinking that they are homeless. We've even encountered homeless people walking on the roads that kind of gave us like information about the town we're heading towards, which is, again, this race, you will talk to anybody and it's more about gaining your faith in humanity back and learning about the kindness of people because you are in deep South Tennessee with just the nicest, most humble people who will, and they have angel stations, but they also have what we call road angels, where people will see this going on, have no clue what these people are doing, no clue, but they see people walking on asphalt in July, and they'll go and pick up water and Gatorade and hand it to you. I had a woman hand us a whole entire cold peach. It was the most magical thing I've ever tasted. And again, they have no clue. They want to know, like, what is this? And then they find the Facebook page, which is the main place. There's a last annual Vol State Facebook page you could get on. The website is called vacationwithoutacar.com. It has some of the resources that we need. And people start finding it and they'll get on Facebook and they're like, I just saw these people come through my town. News people will post about the race. And they'd be like, hey, if you see these people coming through, like, take care of them, give them water. But, we're not allowed to ask for anything. If someone says, hey, what can we have for you, ready for you? We can't say, hey, these would be great for you to have to hand out to runners. That would get us disqualified.
Cole, do you have any other questions?
I have so many questions. I'll start with like the title of the race, the last annual, but it's not the last annual.
No.
What's up with that?
So there's so many inaugural or first annual races. That's just Laz's way of just kind of poking fun of that. But there are so many people that go like, man, I really wanted to do this race, but it was the last year. And we're like, no, as honestly, that's what it is. It's just to poke fun at all those other first annual races out there.
And are we able to pull up the participant list for this year or no? Like, I'm wondering if you know that the same people are going to be there, who's going to be new, or
Yeah, I mean, an ultra sign up, you can go onto the entrance list and they have 2 categories. It used to be crude and screwed. Basically how it sounds. Now it's, I think, bus or no bus, because you, for a little bit extra, you can pay for a bus ride from basically where you leave, which my whole entire trip is going to be without a car. I'm flying there this year. So basically there's a place near where you finish where everybody parks their cars, and then you hop on some buses and they drive the course, the actual whole entire course, backwards. And then they hook you up at a hotel. So for a little bit extra, you get a bus ride and a hotel to kind of get you from the start. But everybody else, I think there's about 20 people that can opt out of that, and they are on their own to get to the start line, which the start line is a ferry boat ride from Hickman, Kentucky to Durana Landing, Missouri, where we get off the ferry, wait for Laz to light a cigarette, which is his thing, at 7:30 a.m. We all get back on the ferry, and then the race starts. But that mile or whatever distance it is across the Mississippi doesn't count until we get back on land. But the clock is moving. You know, another ploy that Laz likes to twist. So
interesting. I've never done a race that starts with a ferry.
And then it ends with, which we don't even quite know the ending this year. They changed it last year because of some construction. I heard this year it might change again just because they want to. So we haven't found out. We don't have an official course map, which usually might only be a 2% change, but we probably won't get it until like next week sometime, and the race starts in a week.
Be a surprise.
It will be a surprise. That's pretty much the joy of this. Like I've been taking notes and kind of going through and trying to have a strategy and know what miles every town is at and what's available, but I think I might just kind of wing it again and see, kind of think on the go and figure it out while I'm moving, instead of like making a plan now and then just having it blow up is kind of not really my strategy.
The flow.
Go with the flow, always. Fuck it.
Last before and after, whenever we got done recording, I went back to edit and I realized I didn't do a damn thing I said I was going to do in the beginning of the episode, where I was like, I'm going to run a 12-minute mile. I'm going to go out. I'm going to stay strong and then save a lot. I didn't do any of that. So if you don't do anything that you said, you will not be alone. And that's probably why we all get along so well and run so many races together.
So yeah, it's just, again, it's a journey. I'm there to have a good time, make experiences, make connections, probably have some crazy memories, and probably some memories I will not remember.
Anything else, Nicole, or at least any other thoughts going into it?
I don't think so. Just
Okay.
You're going to do great.
I don't know. It'll be fun. I'm excited.
So to recap, I wrote down Lisa's thoughts going into it. She's going to work on her breakup speech, do more miles alone, plan for better sleep, 6-day finish, happy to finish within a week, and she's going to carry more food on her. So for all of you listening, you're going to find out how that went in a few seconds. But for us, we are going to get out of here, and then we are going to let Lisa go to Tennessee and run across the whole damn state.